You're listening to the Every Day is a New Day show. Inspirational conversations with movers and shakers about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. Now, here's your host, Kim O'Neill.
Welcome. My name's Kim O'Neill, and I'm a twice certified transformational coach, Reiki master, best-selling author, podcast host, former crime analyst, and big believer in learning from everything so you can confidently move forward in life. You can join us for the live shows most Wednesdays on Facebook at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And now, here's today's newest awesome guest. Welcome to another episode of the Every Day is a New Day show, where I speak with really awesome guests about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. My name is Kim O'Neill, and in addition to being your host, I'm also an empowerment and interview confidence coach. And if you're watching us live, that means you found us on Facebook at Kim O'Neill Coaching, the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page. And we love interacting with you. So do go ahead and feel free to let us know where you're watching from, what brought you here. And if you have questions or aha moments, insights, especially with today's guests, then go ahead and let us know in the chat below, because we'd love to interact with you and answer any questions in real time as we're able to. I have some really exciting guests for you all today. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome two of them to the show, Kasey and Brad Wallis. Welcome, Kasey and Brad.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Yeah, hi everybody. We hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. We know you are.
So I'm really excited for today's interview, and I sometimes truncate the bio for my audience, but you guys have so much meatiness that I'm not going to truncate your bio. I'm going to read all of it.
Please don't read that whole thing.
The whole thing is pages long.
Yeah, don't.
Well, okay, I'm not going to read that long one. I'm going to read the shorter, longer one.
Okay.
Okay, so for those just meeting Kasey and Brad Wallis for the very first time, Kasey and Brad Wallis are renowned speakers, global workshop leaders, and facilitators of consciousness and why we are here, who are also experts in channeling, spiritual growth, empowerment, and enlightenment. They have been interviewed on over 400 media outlets, been featured guests on TV such as CNN, Fox News, NBC, ABC, as well as on radio, telesummits, podcasts, and as key speakers at Consciousness Expos. Since Brad's near-death experience, they have been conduits for an advanced intelligence named Julius, a higher light teaching group who offers messages of empowerment and enlightenment for humanity. And for over 10 years now, the Wallises have been inviting people worldwide to embrace their true limitlessness. I'm tripping over my words because I'm so excited. So excited they're here. Originally, Kasey was trained as a hairdresser for over 35 years, and Brad was drafted to play for a professional baseball team. They came together because of a car accident in 2007. And today, Brad is the author of several books while he and Kasey travel the country, speaking, leading workshops, and being interviewed. And it's through their programs, retreats, online courses, and personal readings that they guide and support people in eliminating judgment, eliminating the resistance and the lack in their life. Kasey and Brad assist people to heal themselves, and through their online classes, as well as their latest workshop, R Factoring, using unique techniques to heal repeated negative patterns for people on a neurological level. And that is still just a nutshell of who they are and what they do. So, Kasey and Brad. So, okay, so if you don't mind, I know, I'm so excited.
We love the word limitlessness in that bio. Nobody can say it. It's just hilarious. And we always say, we've got to remove that word. We've got to come up with a different word.
We're going to have to start changing the bio because it's just too long, and it just needs to be a little short. We could take a couple paragraphs.
That's just because you already know the story. Okay, it's because you know the story. Okay.
You know what? I understand what you're saying, because like I said, I usually do shorten things as necessary, but there are so many key words, and that's actually one of them, limitlessness.
Right.
So
you could have gone, actually that bio could go on and on and on and on. We have a lot of stuff. We do a lot of things.
Yeah, and we know your viewers do too. This is such a great show, Kim, and everybody, especially now on this Earth ship where everybody is so bombarded with fear and worry and stress and anxiety. It's just pounding into everybody. And it sounds like it's a very simple format to just say, you know, we want you to breathe. We want you to step back. We want you to find the joy in your life. We want you to be present in your life. We want you to seek clarity. And everybody's like, yeah, while they've got their stress going on and, you know, things like that. So, you know, we know that people who are taking the time in their life to listen to these types of broadcasts are those people who are stepping up. You know, they're pulling up the big girl pants and are ready to make changes in their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's spot on. And I love that part of what your message is helping people to have a deeper understanding of why they're here.
Yeah.
Why we're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a question usually that hits people a lot of time in our experience, a little bit later in life than sooner. Sometimes life is so busy when you're young, you know, maybe young, coming out of college, getting married, having children, business, blah, 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 blah. And you're kind of not even really in the mode for introvertedness. Yeah. Everything is so exterior. Everything is about agendas and requirements and timelines and economics and even politics. And long about our age, which is about midway through or even farther on for a lot of people, where you have the empty nesters, you're settling possibly into, you know, what people perceive of kind of the ending chapters of their life. And they're like, you know, I'm not really fulfilled. I'm not really satisfied. I'm not sure I did what I was supposed to do. I don't know what I was supposed to do. What am I supposed to do?
This can't be all that there is. And the great answer to all of that is, yes, there is more.
Yeah.
There is much more. There is always more. And that's what you're here on this planet as a human. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and for your young listeners to be listening to these types of broadcasts is phenomenal, because that means they're actually coming into those thoughts and those contemplations early. So, you know, so their life can be even more, you know, fulfilling. Hopefully not more confusing. Hopefully not more confusing, but really more fulfilling and more satisfying for all of them.
Absolutely. Well, so I definitely want to get into your personal story and journey together, just to have some of that inspiration about moving forward. But since we've already started the conversation and the direction it's already headed, I would love for you to expand on this phrasing that was part of what I received when you guys scheduled this interview about the human opportunity.
Yeah. You know, it is an extraordinary showcase, this Earthship is, and you have an opportunity here to know yourself like no other opportunity, in a sense that this Earthship provides so many ways for you to know yourself, and so many variables, energy-wise, conscious-wise, for those coming here. So we talk a lot in our program, all in our programming, about spirituality and consciousness, not to get everybody kind of weirded out on that. But everybody comes on this Earthship and everybody's got a different perspective. You can have similar perspective to maybe the groups that you hang out with, but it's really designed that each of us have our own way of viewing things and feeling ways about things. And if you take into account just humanoids on the Earthship, let's say 9 billion of them, that's a lot of opportunity here, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and of course, I know that you wanted to allude to, I can tie how all of this came about, you know, why we teach this and how we teach this. And it really came about 12 years ago when I had a car accident. I was deeply embedded in religion. I had a construction I had stopped playing baseball. I had started a construction company, and I was sitting at a busy intersection, and a kid ran a red light and pushed a bunch of vehicles through my vehicle. My vehicle was the one that stopped everybody at the intersection. Wow. I had a massive brain injury, forgot completely everything in my life, had to learn how to walk again and how to talk again. And the medicine that they prescribed me, I overdosed on. And during that time that I had overdosed, which was 8 hours in human time, I was on the other side talking to the group we now call Julius. Kasey at that time was not my wife, and they asked me if I wanted to come back and teach humans exactly about what the human experience is really all about. And of course I agreed, but only if they were going to come with me, because no one would ever believe my story. And Kasey was standing there at the bedside when I woke up, and we've been together ever since. And so,
well, I started trans-channeling Julius when he woke up. He always leaves that out. I always have to kind of jump in, like, what happened? Wait, what?
There's so much more to the story, but I can't.
Oh no!
We don't have all the time in the world.
Okay, we can't see them right now. Kasey and Brad, if you can hear me, we actually can't see you right now, or at least I cannot see you right now.
Really?
That's interesting.
Our camera's on.
Camera is on.
We're actually in the corner of your.
I don't know if others can see you.
Can you hear us?
Nope.
Apparently not.
I'm just going to speak to the audience right now.
No,
are you already intrigued? I am. Oh my goodness. Kasey and Brad, if you are, goodness, I cannot see you. If someone in the comments can let me know if you can still see Kasey and Brad, like it wouldn't matter because I can't see you guys.
Wow.
Kasey and Brad, if you want to try and maybe
do I stop?
Even come back. I don't know if
Yeah,
you can do that with the broadcast live.
I know, but
come on.
Want to refresh it?
I don't know that I can refresh it. Let me stop camera.
You've got to be kidding me.
Hang
You've
on.
got to be kidding me.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Well, I'm going to say hello to our audience here. Hello to Angel. Okay, I think they're going to come back. Oh, I'm still live.
Come
on. Yay!
Okay.
How's that?
Got it?
Excellent. Yes. Okay,
Did we
so
get back?
I don't know what happened.
Did we
just
get back?
reactivated again, so sorry.
We've been here the whole time. The camera's been on. We've been in the corner of your little box. I just hit stop camera and refresh. So here we go.
Okay.
It's all good. I don't know why that happens sometimes, but thank you for taking a moment to come right back. It's all good. So we were right at the part, Kasey, where you started to say that's when you started trans channeling.
Right. So
I always leave that out of the story.
When Brad was having his near-death experience, he was met with this phenomenal ascended group named Julius, who basically showcased for Brad answers to all of the questions that he had for this group. Everything about life, about where we come from, what we're doing here. And upon his return to the planet, or back to this reality, he'd asked them to come with him. And they told him they had already made arrangements for that. When Brad woke up in the hospital, I started trans-channeling. Now, for your listeners who don't know exactly what that means that my consciousness kind of slides over to the side, and Julius uses my body to talk to Brad, to talk to audiences and things like that. So trans-channeling is the way that I channel. Not everybody channels that way.
Okay.
And you know, to have the opportunity to have an engagement with a type of an energy group or ascended masters group is a phenomenal experience. Some people out there listening might go, I just don't buy any of that. Although nowadays, I think a lot of people really are open to that. There's plenty of people out there, very famous people who do this now. But the biggest thing about it, Ken, is the way it changes your life. You just can't ignore this thing anymore, okay? And when you have the opportunity to have things pointed out to you and to be empowered and to learn about our creativities and learn about our soul and learn about how we're navigating our experiences and, you know, kind of that eternal aspect of ourselves, it's not just life-changing, it's an awakening really for your whole format. You know, for your existence. But it also helps us and our students really unleash their compassion, because you understand what's going on. You understand the differentiation. And that is probably the broadest tool in this type of work, is that we kind of spread and teach compassion. When I say compassion, I don't mean sympathy. Sympathy means you feel sorry for people. Compassion means you understand people. That builds tolerance, that builds respect, that builds honor. And, that's a wonderful place to even just start on your life to have a better understanding of who you are.
I love it. Okay, so I have questions for both of you. Kasey, I first would love to know, did you ever, did you know what channeling was prior to this? Did you have an interest in it? How did all of that come to be?
Right. So it wasn't just an immediate phenomenon. I've had intuitive gifts in my life, and I think I've been looking back at it now. Of course, in my life, I've been kind of dabbling in it. I had some people who'd passed, nephews, friends, my father, who would come through me and talk to people. And so I had a little bit of a testing ground, a little bit of practice ground on it. But this phenomenon, now I know that this was really me prepping myself, or some type of energy prepping myself for this phenomenon, which of course I now know is something that I've done in many lives. We've done this type of work in many lives, which can be common for all kinds of intuitive gifts. So although it was strange and a challenge to get used to, and honestly, Kim, I wasn't even really sure I wanted to do it. I mean, I lose time, I go blank. I'm thinking like, what's in it for me? I don't care if anybody else knows what's happening to them. I mean, really, that's our alter ego, right? It's like, just give me lottery numbers. I just want lottery numbers and I'm good. Because I know that's what your listeners are out there thinking. They're like, oh, crap, man, I could just use this or this and this. And of course, that's not exactly how it works.
That's not exactly the way
it
works.
And it's been progressive. I get better at it and better at it and better at it, or I should say, more refined at it. Better as a judgment, as if you could be better or worse at anything. It's just a refinement process. And also I had to come to terms with the energy that is pushed through me. So there was a lot of collaboration that had to take place and continues to take place.
I bet. Okay, so quick, just to our audience, if you have questions, now's the time. Make sure you're typing them in. We're going to check those in just a moment. But before we do that, Brad, I want to ask you, so you had this near-death experience for 8 hours on the other side, which I'm imagining seemed like a flash of a second for you. I mean, you don't really remember it as 8 hours, or do you?
No, in fact, what a lot of people don't understand, especially a human being, is time is just relevant here to this experience.
Yeah.
Once you leave this earthly plane, once you leave the planet Earth, time becomes basically non-existent. So what you feel like is forever is just an instant, and things happen so fast on the other side.
When you were, I guess, talking with Julius about coming back, did you know beforehand that you were going to have this road to recovery and weren't going to be able to walk at first and all that?
Well, that's part of the, thank you for asking that question, because sometimes I'll explain that and sometimes I forget to say that. When people have a experience, like let's use a plane crash for an instant, and everyone that's on that plane, there's no survivors on the plane. Well, we as humans believe that that's such a tragic accident. But what they don't understand is every one of those beings that are on that airplane before they exit this plane of existence are asked that question if they want to stay or if they want to go. And the reason you don't stay is because you are stuck in the body that you have just left. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the reason people don't want to stay is because they realize that there's only half of their body, or they've been decapitated, but everybody is given that question right off the bat. And that was explained to me because I asked that question to the group, and they just point blank told me, everyone's asked that question. Everyone's given the opportunity to stay. And if I decide to go back, of course, I'm coming back to the body that I just left. And I knew the body that I had just left had some severe problems to it. And that was part of the reason I asked them to come back with me, because they were going to teach me how to heal myself. And that's basically what has happened, is they have healed me with no medication, and straight. We've been able to heal everything with just thought, with just the way you think, changing the way you think.
Yeah, and we support that the way you think and the way you feel creates your reality. In other words, your perspective creates your reality. That's why, like we said early in the transmission, nobody's having the same experience. Nobody is having the same experience. Nobody perceives things the exact same way. And if you think about this Earth ship is designed to support back to you what you know. You're always right, okay? You're basically always right, because somehow this hologram reflects back to you your perspective. It supports your truth back to you. Now, can you imagine the variables then here? That gets crazy, because everybody's like, well, no. Everybody else is seeing this the same way I am, because my friend is telling me, yes, we agree there's a tree there, and yes, we agree there's a chair there. And we'll say, yes, but the experience of that tree and that chair could be completely different, the way, depending on how you feel about it, the way on how you perceive things. So there's so much going on. It's just amazing. In fact, if you realized how much going on, you'd never be bored. You'd never be bored. But of course, the design for that is to inspire us, to help us find joy in the way that we create our reality.
Wow. And so going back to how you healed, does that also include no physical therapy?
That's correct.
Yeah, no physical. Here's the thing. At the very beginning, there's a few requirements that I was required to fulfill to satisfy my doctors.
Yeah,
for medical purposes. Once those requirements were fulfilled, which were very minimal because nobody really knew what to do with me.
Yeah, brain injuries are very, very complicated.
Nobody knows.
They don't even know how to do therapy for it.
And the ironic part was I had the wonderful opportunity of being gifted with, there were a bunch of doctors that their schedules had miraculously gotten so busy that they sent me to a doctor in the community that we live on the outside of this community. And there was this one doctor who nobody could get into because he was the head of neuropsychology. And an opening came up and he accepted me as a patient, and it completely changed not only my life, but it changed his life, because he was so open-minded to be willing to listen to what I was experiencing. What a lot of people don't understand, when you go to a neuropsychologist or a psychologist and you start filling out that questionnaire, about every third or fourth question that they ask you is, do you hear voices?
Brad's like, well, yeah, but not in my head. My wife, Kasey's telling me things,
Right.
And I would constantly not fill that out. And as they kept giving, his office would keep giving me these questionnaires and questionnaires. He brought up one day, he says, why are you not filling that out? I said, do you want the honest truth? And he says, yes, tell me what's going on. And so I sat there and I said, you're not going to believe this, but I need you to be open-minded enough to at least sit down and listen to what's going on with me and what I'm going through. And like I said, it changed his life.
Wow.
He left the practice and moved to another city, actually went out onto an Indian reservation, because believe it or not, Indians have more brain injuries than anybody else. And the information and the information that we had given him through Julius, he took that information with him and left the practice in the town that we were in. So it totally life-changing. So I was his runner. He was my runner and I was his.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, okay, I want to just take a quick moment and say hello to our live viewers. We have Angel Rebo here with us. Hello,
Hey,
Angel.
Hi, Angel. Love you.
And we've also got Sue Dolan with us, and hello to Angel as well. Everyone knows Angel. Hello, Angel. Awesome to see you here. And I see here we've got M. Williams saying she's so glad she didn't miss anything, and but she needed a delay because she's here with us right now. So awesome. I'm glad that you're here with us, M. Williams. And Joe, we've got Joe here with us as well. So hello to everybody. We've got a really awesome, exciting guest today. So stay with us because there's more to come. So so before we get deeper into talking about Julius, I'm really excited. I do want to ask you, Brad, so another aspect of your story that I really love, that I think our viewers may enjoy as well, is you mentioned earlier that you were very religious prior to this experience. Mm-hmm. How did this experience shift that, or did it? And
wow.
Tell us.
Okay, I'm going to try to paraphrase this without being too blunt or too rude or however you want to put it. I live in Utah. Okay. How's that? Okay. There's a pretty dominant religion that is very dominant in the state of Utah, and I was very much embedded in that religion. My family's very much embedded in that religion. All my relatives are embedded in that religion. The community we live in, that's the dominant religion, and I left the religion, and I was actually pretty high up in the church at the time. Oh, wow. And I left the religion because of what I learned on the other side.
I think it was strange for you, though, with all of your belief system and all of the practices and embedment of, because of course religions usually give you some idea of what they believe is going to happen when you die. That's a lot of how they control you. Of course, they mostly keep you afraid of death. And when nothing happened on the other side,
nothing
that you were sure you knew what was going to happen, it was like, right? But the best thing is that he didn't deny it. He didn't figure it was just a dream or it was just coincidence. Well, I think a lot of people do.
Yeah,
right?
I got questioned. I got really questioned, and I had to. One day, I just looked someone right square in the eye and I says, "Let me tell you what. You're asking me to deny something that I know is not true. And if I deny the truth that I know, then I'm not being honest to not only you, I'm not being honest to myself. And I will never deny the experience that I had. And I will never deny to anybody else the experience I had because it's true."
Well, what was really interesting too, Kim, is with as strong as his belief system was, after having this experience with Julius and this time period with Julius, and when he came back, he was wanting to know more. He didn't even really come back with this attitude of now once again questioning and comparing and checking things. There was really an experience of an open-minded phenomenon, that awakening that people talk about, where, and the feeling, I think, inside of him that despite everything that he was trying to believe with the religion, never really resonated as truth for him. Now we know the difference. We know the big difference between believing. Believing is conjectural. You're hopeful. You're wishing. You're trying to trust.
Well, religions constantly tell you must have faith. Mm-hmm. Well, look up the word faith. Faith is conjectural. You're on your way to possibly believing.
Or to knowing something.
But that's not knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing is steadfast. It's undeniable. Yeah. Okay. I know what I experienced, and the fact of the matter is there is more information coming out today in today's world about people and near-death experiences and all of the phenomenon that's going on, that it's undeniable, this truth that's out there.
The other thing that's super cool, Kim, is nobody has the same experience when they die or go out of body. So that leaves a whole nother Pandora's box, which again supports the dialogue at the beginning of this transmission, where this Earthship is providing opportunity, infinite opportunity for you to know yourself, for you to express yourself, and for you to expand yourself, as well as every form of energetic existence that you're going to choose to engage with. And your mind just starts kind of going, okay, what else? What else? But again, that helps assist us and everybody else in honoring everybody else's experience and allowing everybody else's experience, because it's not designed for any of us to do it the same way.
Well, and in this human experience, I'd love your thoughts on this, of course. In this human experience, I think the way you're talking about opportunity may actually be experienced more as like, oh my gosh, why am I having this hardship or this challenging time, right? Why does this keep happening to me? This awful thing, right?
Right.
And yet that's the opportunity you're speaking of. Is that correct?
Right. It is. And one of the first applications, and we know that this transmission supports this, is you've got to change the way you view things, okay? You've got to get out of your victimhood perspective and finding yourself victimized by everything here and switching and engaging in a different direction, a different foresight to see that everything's an opportunity for you here. Once you start being mindful in seeing the golden nuggets, the opportunity in, oh my God, sometimes the most limiting, frightful, traumatizing event in your life, and you allow your soul to explain to you the opportunity in that experience, energetically you start to shift, and everything else starts to showcase itself differently. As long as you're always looking at things as bad or limiting, it will support that perspective. You start to realize that your reality is always supporting your perspective. It's extremely powerful. Now, this is not easy for a lot of people. This is where coaching comes in. This is where support systems comes in, because sometimes you can't see the golden nuggets. You can only see, what the hell was that for? That's going to bind me. That's going to tie me down. And you have those wonderful people like yourself, Kim, who can step in and just give that eagle's eye vantage point and find some of the variable ways of seeing things. Then you engage in that thought possibility. And if you allow yourself to engage in the possibility that there could be an opportunity in what you thought was nothing more than a limitation and a trauma, you start to feel powerful. You start to move out of your victimhood. That energy, the energy and the experience of empowerment is so strong, it's joyful, and that's really what helps everybody maneuver in a different direction in their life.
Whew, okay. So I am loving speaking with you too, and everything. I can't believe we're already more than halfway through this show. So I would love to talk a little bit more about Julius. And, when you had your first, was Julius, Kasey, so for you, was Julius your first experience of trans channeling? I mean, I know you've already been doing the intuitive thing, but was that your first experience of channeling?
I think in this way, channeling, there's different ways of trans channeling. Some people, to give support with all types of trans channelers out there. Some trans channelers, I want to say, will exit their consciousness in a certain percentage, okay, where they still have an aspect of their consciousness there. They're still aware of what's going on, although there's a dominant force of the energy that's working through them. They're still pretty much engaged. And then there's, maybe a higher percentage. I was at a 0 point percentage on this. I would just go into empty space. And literally when I would come out of this phenomenon, Brad would be mid-sentence in an engagement with me. It's like somebody had just dropped me onto the planet into that moment. I'm like, what are we talking about? And it was clear to see that we'd been talking for a while. And I thought maybe I was going a little nutty. I mean, here I am trying to work with Brad and his brain injury and all the limitations and stuff that go along with that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is this making me crazy? You know, am I sliding into, I don't know, schizophrenia, multiple personalities? I didn't believe Brad when he would tell me what we've been talking about, the subject matter that he would say we've been talking about, I didn't know anything about.
So I
hairdresser.
bought a digital recorder and started recording all the conversations. And then when I started playing them back to her, she just looked at me like, where in the hell did that information come from? And actually it kind of upset her at first, because she says, wow, that's the only reason why you want to be with me is because of Julius.
Yeah, oh, pretty much true. That's pretty much true, I think. I still think that. We still have a long argument about that. So it's definitely something that you have to get used to. You asked the question if I've done this. Now, for people who maybe do this from the time that they're little, you know, it's like anything else you have to get used to. Some people ask me why I agreed to continue to do it. I'm not even sure that I did initially.
Okay.
I think it was just a gateway. It's just a doorway. I was reassured by Julius that I'd done this before, that this wasn't something that they were forcing, you know, onto me, that my soul is agreeing to this. And I don't know if that made me feel better or worse, but it was kind of strange. When an intuitive gift in particular hits you kind of blindsided, there's definitely an adjustment period that you have to go through, rather than it kind of always being there.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I thought someone said something. I have a question that I don't know if it would be good to ask you guys, or is it possible during this show to ask Julius?
Yep, Julius is here. They're
already here.
They love to talk.
They're just waiting.
Okay. Should I just go ahead and start?
We always wait for the host.
Yeah, we always wait for the host to ask, so fire away.
Okay.
This is what I will say to you, though. You can ask anything you want. Just be prepared for the answer.
I got it. Well, I'm not asking anything personal, so.
No, it doesn't matter. Just be prepared for the answer. So.
Okay. I'm open to receiving the answers and hope you are too. Okay. So on your Facebook story, on your Facebook page, here's a quote from that, and I'd like to ask a question about it. So it says, "Together, this extraordinary trio is gently awakening us from our earthly slumber and widening our awareness of how and why the illusion of this realm purposely shadows the knowing of our authentic essence as source and the full understanding of ourselves as masters." Mm-hmm. So what I love about that is, my question is then, if it's okay for us to widen our awareness of who we truly are, then why does the illusion of this realm purposely shadow our knowing of it?
It's not that the realm works against you, Master. You work against yourself in your knowing. The illusion here is created for you, by you, based on your desire to know yourself as the all. You are the one that chose to negate yourself away from that truth, mostly because you were embedded with teachings of fear and disconnection, and you accepted those truths. You bought into those untruths or limited truths about yourselves. And as we stated earlier, the Earthship will always support your perspective back to you. So the Earthship is not working against you, Master. Your perspective is. That's great news, because you govern that. That's why we call you masters, because you are the master of your reality. You are the master of your expansiveness, and you are the master of your knowing. If we were to tell you that the Earthship was working against you, you would be victims, and you would have to wait for a savior, and you would have to wait for a different opportunity. But we state, Masters, emphatically, that you create your reality and your opportunity in any given moment.
And you've just forgotten that.
Learning this truth is fully empowering, Master. It is the difference between listening to the altered ego or accessing your soul. Your soul's interaction will lead you back to this knowing and allow you to be all that you choose to be. Your altered ego will bind you, limit you, imprison you, keep you in fear, sadness, anxiety, and stress. but you may and you will and you do learn that all of this is under your choosing, and that is Source demonstrating itself to the fullest.
Thank you so much. And so I think of us as always being connected to our soul. However, I know there's also the perspective and something that you guys had said earlier about connecting with it more fully to connect with that truth. Can you just talk about the connecting with our soul a little bit?
Yes, Master. It is an energy flow. It is an energy flow. When you are open-minded, when you are in peace, when you are in joy, when you are in calm, the energy flows freely. It doesn't just flow freely. It massively expands itself. This is where all knowing and all remembering occurs. It is what we call the full alignment, probability, and perspective in your design. When you hit fear, it creates energy blocks or obstacles on this pathway inward. It literally goes from the energy flowing right straight through the center of your body where your soul lives in the now, to side venting itself, shooting out to the sides of your body, causing detours along your journey. This is what we call getting derailed from the alignment of your soul. We do support in full agreement, Master, that you cannot be disconnected from your soul. You are your soul. That's good news. But you can get distracted. You can get low frequency, and you can kind of get side swiped and side blinded. That's where chaos ensues. That's where uncertainty ensues, and that's where sadness ensues. We can help you clear those energy passageways, open up your vehicle, and you may have all accessibility so that your soul is really creating your experience for you instead of the fear-based limitation of your altered ego state.
Wow. Would you say that because we choose limiting perspectives or beliefs, would you say that that is maybe not consciously done in this human experience? However, do we choose that on a soul level because it's going to help us to learn how to move beyond that and expand?
Yes. So, Master, we will tell you that your soul has the perspective always of finding the opportunity and that everything expands. It's the quintessential Pollyanna child vantage point. You cannot be halted when the soul is viewing everything and you're in alignment with that vantage point, okay? The altered ego is a byproduct created by you for this realm. Would you like us to explain how the altered ego became engaged?
Yes, please.
Okay. When you first designed this Earthship, Master, and as light beings or sentience or souls, they're all the same thing, designed this Earthship simply by having an idea, feeling a perspective about it, slowing the energy frequency down, and you designed and created things, realms, dimensions, planes for you to dance on, for you to be inspired by, and for you to continually expand yourself with. After you designed the Earthship, one of the last things that you designed, Master, was a physical embodiment for which you could insert yourself and you could experience the realm that you had created. You could touch it, you could taste it, you could smell it, you could see it, you could hear it, fully interact with it, with the idea that in doing so, you would continually be inspired by everything around you to create more and create more. And there's this ongoing evolutionary process of the Earth and the universes and the galaxies based on soul's continued inspiration for further creativity. But coming into a physical design on a physical plane, you also have an innate intelligence to understand some of the limitations of the physical realm. So you originally designed a very small fractal of yourself to be what we refer to as an ego self. Really, originally designed for mere survival instincts, like don't step into the fire, don't stay out in the rain, you need to feed yourself, you need to drink water. It was a very small fractal of you. And so originally, when you first came to the Earthship, you were pretty much in a full awakened state of everything that you were, everything was blissful, and you lived for thousands of years, Master, tens of thousands of years, because you never eroded yourselves through fear.
The ironic part is history documents that. Mm-hmm. There is actual documentation of people that lived for thousands of years on this earth.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
In those lifespans, Master, you generally started to see things that appeared to start to be a limitation. For instance, you saw plants die. You saw animals die. You started to see animals eating some of the other humanoids, and fear started to instill itself. And your survival instincts grew. You started to rely more on your survival instincts than your soul, and this is what we call growing the altered ego. So we support that it is the altered ego, the blown up, inflated, oversized governing component of your experience, that is the altered ego that causes all of the limitation in your life, because it sees everything through the eyes of suspicion or fear first. That's what happened.
And fear governs this plane of existence.
And because humans then engage themselves in a controlling aspect, a maniacal aspect, and seeking to rule others, you used all of those fears against you, and that has become your reality. Mostly fear-based. The majority of humanoids on this Earthship, Master, think that this is some kind of a plane of punishment. That once you design and become worthy in some way to serve and please some kind of power outside of you, you finally get to go somewhere else, and this place is paradise for you. So to get back to your question, if you asked us, why did we design, or why is the Earthship working against our creative flow? We say it is not. It supports your perspective. You are the ones that came into your limitation, and that's great news, because you can change your experience.
You're the one that can change it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for that. Maybe two more questions. For those people who are thinking, what, I never consciously said, this is what I believe, and therefore that's why I'm experiencing this reality. What answer do you have for them? I'm imagining, they created something on a subconscious level. They don't remember thinking something years ago, and here it is today in a full-blown state. Or what are your thoughts on that?
We will tell you that they are not consciously creating love, Master, more than they're not consciously creating fear, because you're bombarded with fear. If you are not actively choosing a thought, choosing a perspective, and demonstrating in a reality, which is a high conscious state or an awakened state, you are asleep. And you are victim and subject to everybody else's suggestion. That's mostly what's going on. Do you know how many thoughts you have access to in any given moment? Do you know what thought you're having right now? Do you know what thought you're having right now? How about how you're feeling right now? How about how you're feeling now? And people will say, well, that's just too tiresome. And we're like, really? More tiresome than cleaning up the shit show that you're creating by being asleep? Okay? So people are choosing their fear, Master, by not choosing love. Okay. They are the empowered ones.
Would you say that mindfulness of choosing our thoughts is the key to awakening?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Isn't that awesome? And you can choose any thought. Now, humans believe in mostly just kind of a handful of thoughts. Your whole reality is based on such limiting thoughts, and you shove them down each other's throats. You embed them with programming. You've created laws and obligations and punishments. You've created economic systems. You've created political systems that force feed you the way you're supposed to think and what you're supposed to be afraid of. And humans have not been taught to reach for other thoughts. Do you know how many other thoughts there are? And you can take any of those and experience them. That's what we help you remember. Because, Master, it is a remembering process, and that makes it more accessible to you than anything.
I love that love is a huge part of your message. And for someone who's in this human experience and does not feel that they have a lot of love in their life in this present moment, and think that it may be so hard to deliberately shift their thoughts to create a new reality for themselves, can you provide us, one or two tips to how they can start to engage with more love, infuse their life with more love?
Yes. The first thing, Master, is to get out of your familiar space, because everything in your familiar space supports your subconscious thoughts and the things that you have previously accepted. So the very first thing that we encourage students to do, or what we do with students, is get them out of their environment, generally into a fairly high frequency place, somewhere near water, somewhere near the mountains, somewhere near the forest, somewhere near the deserts, and get them quiet. Then you go through a practice of choosing a thought and choosing an emotion, and just sitting in that space. You're going to be amazed at how you have the ability to create your experience. Your experience is all about the way you feel. It's all about the way you feel. You practice and you practice and you practice. Now you go back to your life and things happen, but you remember that when you were in this quiet place, you felt differently. You start to engage, you start to create and modify your life.
And just talking about it, you can feel the energy that just comes from it, just in the conversation.
You start to take those gifts and you implement them into your daily lives, and it feels differently. And you know what? Things start to change. The greatest thing about a conscious journey, Master, is you reap the rewards every step of the way. You don't have to wait until you are the highest conscious being in the universe to see your life change. It changes with every thought and every emotion, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And pretty soon this extraordinary practice becomes back inward into the alignment, all that you are. And when you have that feeling, the empowerment changes everything. But you get to do the work. You get to do the work. That's the best news.
That's the key word, get to do the work. We get to do the work. We don't have to do the work. We get to do the work. By doing the work, then what a gift it is right back to us, like you were just saying. And I think another key to point out is, I could go two ways with this, is that what you're describing sounds very simple, but may not feel very easy, at least when you're first starting out.
That's
and
correct.
I just think that's really key to point out.
Yes, and you need support systems. You do. You've got a massive support system for your fear. It's everywhere. So don't think for a moment that you couldn't use a little help to support you in getting into love. That's what the teachers are for. That's what the practitioners are for. That's what the coaches are for. That's what the programs are for. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and the ironic part is we don't tell people that our way is the only way that you have to do it.
Right. Just choose a thought.
We want you to try out every practitioner who feels good to you and use all of them until you've had your guts full. Because you know what? We'll still be here and we'll still be pushing you along. And when you're ready and you're ready to visit with us, we're here.
We love everybody's initiative in this march on this earth ship back to knowing yourselves. We honor everyone, even some of the most limiting ones. We allow that because sometimes, Master, as you know, through limitation, you expand the most. The question is, what do you choose? It starts with a desire. That desire inspires you to action. Action causes a repetition and a pattern for yourself, and the demonstration then becomes the inspiration for the change and the pattern, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and joy is the end result.
You are so inspiring. I would love to talk with you longer, but I don't want to keep Kasey and Brad here much longer than the hour. So my last question for you, Julius, is for those who may be wondering, why do you refer to me as master?
Because you are God. We are all God in form. We are the masters of our realities. You are a fully empowered being. You have just forgotten that. We will always recognize that in you, even when you don't recognize it yourself. We will lift you up back to your knowing, and therefore, Master, you can see everyone else in their mastery as well, and love it, and honor it, and inspire it, and expand in that truth.
Oh, thank you so, so much. Let me see. I don't think we have any new questions. Brad, you're not channeling. So do we have time for one question from a guest?
Yeah, that's up to you. We'll go as long as you want to go, girl.
Okay.
We're good. As long as you want to keep talking, we'll keep talking.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I do see a question here from Joe. She is saying, well, I am prepared for the answers on my son, Elisha, if you are willing. I just want to be the best mother I can be. That's my job, my purpose. Okay, so it's not quite a question, but it sounds like she may be asking for some insights about her son.
So we will tell you this. The first thing for you to understand is he is not your son. What we mean by that is you are all light beings in collaboration with each other back to the knowing of yourselves. When you take that position, it changes everything. Then you guide and you listen through love. When you say the best, Master, it presumes that you could be the worst, and we do not support that possibility. We want you to move with love every day in your intention. And when we say love, Master, we mean allow. Allow him to be who he is. That doesn't mean that you don't support some guidance on loving himself, honoring all others. But the allowing process is the unconditional aspect of those who choose to be teachers or reminders for other souls. It is a huge role to undertake. Master, do not be hard on yourself, nor to be hard on him. Open your mind, open your heart, feel your authenticity. Anytime that fear is creeping up, the altered ego is engaged. Every time love is accessible, your soul is guiding you. Teach him that by showing him that in your life. Your mastery in parenting begins with your mastery of self. So get on it, Master, because we know who you are.
You talked earlier, the exact words that have evaded me at the moment, but you sort of talked around the subject of purpose, but I'd like to specifically ask you about life purpose. Do we all come here into this human experience with a life purpose, whether we remember it or not?
So good question, Master. We say that is based on your conscious awareness state. What we mean is you have incarnated yourself back to this realm countless times, more than any of you realize, more than any of you remember. And the challenge with that is, generally speaking, when you left, you had a very limited conscious awareness state, and you bought into contracts and obligations and punishments and rewards and rules and agenda. You therefore create those agendas for your own self, those contracts for your own self, because you are the one that is creating your reality. Once you realize this, you also realize the phenomenal expanded truth that your soul is just here to dance and create. It finds extreme joy in taking a thought, feeling a new way about it, and demonstrating it in a new way. It's the never-ending demonstrator of thought possibility. So your purpose, if you will, is not set forth by anything outside of you. You govern that your own self. But we can tell you that a soul walks into any and every experience in order to expand itself. So when you are trying to figure out what to do, we say do anything that is joyous for you. anything and everything, from walking a dog to brain surgery, to raising a child, to teaching a child, to traveling the world. Let the only compass be joy and happiness, and you will have a fulfilled and satisfying life that will lead you onto that eternal experience once you leave this plane. We support your purpose is designed by you. Your intention as a soul is to find joy in every experience. So get on it.
Woo! Okay. So a lot of what I can imagine people saying is, I want to do all these other things that bring me joy, but a lot of times the answer comes back to not having money.
Right. But we can tell you this. You can find joy in any tasking that pays as well. It's also about attitude and perspective.
It's mostly your perspective.
Right.
If you've got the perspective that you don't have any money, then guess what?
Right.
You don't have any money.
Right.
Okay.
And making money is not interrelated to misery. That is a limitation. You can make a couple of different conscious decisions. You can make a logical decision and choose a career or a type of job that gives you what you perceive to be funds that are viable, funds that are usable. We say in that case, get your soul engaged in that job and find the joy in it. Then you're working all right. Otherwise, we can also support to you on an ethereal truth that whatever you find joyful in your life will find a way to sustain you. It may not be in your perspective of sustainability. That gets precarious. But you are the masters of your design. You are. If you just can't stand to do anything except walk dogs or cut flowers or draw pictures, then you can create a lifestyle where that is okay for you. You may not have billions of dollars in the bank, but if you're finding joy, it's okay. But here's the other thing. When somebody sits around and just says, well, I'm just sitting here on my ass because I just can't get inspired about what direction to go to, and we say, well, sitting on the couch is probably not going to provide a lot of opportunity for variable choices. You can find yourself while you're working. There's always hiring going on around you, and you may be amazed at the doors that open up. And the only thing that determines whether a door opens up is you creating that. When you go in someplace and you say, I'm going to do this because it will feed me, it will provide housing for me, and it will provide me an opportunity to open a door for another creative prospects. That's you being accountable, master. And you also designed that for yourself when you inserted yourself into a physical body.
Thank you so much for speaking to that. So it sounds like, based on what you've shared with us, and I've done a lot of my own studying on this, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. It's no different. Money is no different than anything else in terms of choosing the thoughts and the feelings that support us in receiving it. But at the same time, based on what you just said, making a decision sounds like also a very key element.
Yeah, it is a truth with the energy of money.
There is plenty for all, not just a select few. The difference is the select few that know this process don't want anybody else to know it. And so they bind people and tell them that they can't have it.
Yeah.
So get out the door and make it happen.
We also support that you cannot manifest what you don't accept.
What you can't accept.
That's the truth. If money isn't showing up in your life, you're not accepting that it can. That's a truth. So we will help you broaden your acceptance. Other teachers will help you broaden your acceptance, and your world broadens itself out. There has been so much pressed onto you about money, about the limitation of it, about the controlling aspects of it, about how some are entitled to it and others are not. You have created such a field of limitation around that form of energy. And once you start to break through that, that limitation will dissolve itself. So do whatever it takes to help you accept a broader truth.
Oh, I love that. So are there any other messages, Julius, that you would like to share before we come back to Kasey and Brad as a couple?
So masters, what we will tell you is this: you are source in form. That is the ultimate truth as it is known. As challenging as it is for most of you to accept that, we encourage you to work towards that knowing, because that's where the resolution for all limitation lies. We say that the only reason that there's limitation on this earth ship, why there's destruction, why there's murder, why there's imprisonment, why there's enslavement, is because those doing that don't know that they're God and don't know that all others are God. So they seek to take the power away from another in order to feel it themselves. We support that when you all come to the knowing of how powerful you are, you will not have to extract it from another being. Peace and calm and love will flourish. Work on accepting this truth without fear, without guilt, and without worry. There's nothing outside of yourself that will punish you beyond your own mind's acceptance. That is a truth. But more than anything, masters, know this: you are the most extraordinary beings. You are honorable. You are lovable. We will endlessly work to remind you of that truth. For as each one of you awakes, it heightens our truth and our awareness that that is. We love you and we honor you as it will be.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow. So, Brad and Kasey, okay, so I'm going to give Kasey a moment. Brad, I would love to know, as you're sitting right next to Kasey channeling this high vibrational energy, what is that like? Is it anything different to you, or do you notice a difference?
Well, I actually hear the whole conversation, because if she gets stuck on a word, or if there's a word that she can't get out of her mouth, I will tell her the word, or she'll touch me and she'll say, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Okay. So I'm actually hearing the transmission. That was part of the gift of me coming back. The problem is, because I still do have a brain injury, my brain I can't get the words out of my mouth fast enough, but I can still hear what's coming in. What humans fail to realize is the brain is just a processor. It's like a computer chip.
It's a receiver.
Yeah, It just receives information and then sends that information throughout your body. And I remember when I first met with them on the other side, because I asked that question, and they said, then why don't you take your brain with you when you die?
Yeah.
And that answered that question. It's just a process.
The energy's pretty strong, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm actually pretty wet right now. I mean, I sweat a lot with their energy. So
our students that sit around us, or people who are in live audiences, are usually pretty bolted over by the energy.
There's a lot of energy when we're doing a live show.
And other practitioner friends, we're very blessed to be very good friends with some other very powerful practitioners. And sometimes when we do events together and we're all sitting on a panel together, they'll kind of fight over who gets to sit next to Julius, because I say it charges them up,
gets them all
gets them going, gets all of their wisdom out of them. It's kind of fun.
It's fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Kasey, so for you now, what was that?
I said, she's back.
So, first off, do you remember what you just shared through Julie? Okay, I didn't think so.
No, I'll get downloads of it later on, or it'll kind of ping me, later on when it becomes relevant for things. That used to be problematic for me too, because I used to think to myself, I'm the last one in the room, to get this information. I'm like the kid in the back of the room with the dunce hat on. But they assure me, of course, that all of that is coming through to me. It's getting embedded in my subconscious and things like that. So I've just learned to be a little bit patient in my life, which obviously is something I needed to work on or continue to need to work on. So maybe that's the way I'm learning my patience, is by working with Julius.
And Kasey, what does it feel like in your body when you're channeling?
It's very energizing. It's very high frequency. You'll notice that I've got a stone that I tumble, so I often
always has to have
something
something in her hands,
because I've got to transfer some of that energy. And it used to make me sick. It used to give me a headache or diarrhea or nausea and stuff, because it's like having an atomic bomb, going on in my body. But now my heart rate goes up, and sometimes my eyes dilate, depending on how closely you can kind of see me. But it's gotten more seamless, so I don't get tired from channeling anymore. I actually get energized. When we do programming late at night, I'm actually kind of up, for a while. So it changes for me, but I'm in good form, and I'm very blessed with extremely abundant health, and so my body seems to be able to handle it. But I also think that they help me with my energy field and help me keep me healthy as well.
And that was a question I wanted to ask you. Do you have a specific diet so that you can channel effectively?
Yeah. So I've always been what I consider to be very health conscious. I'm very athletic, and was always raised in a very sports-minded home. But when I started to channel Julius, I gave up all alcohol. I have gone to about a 90% plant-based diet, for myself. And I stay away from obviously sodas and chemicals and things like that. And I just choose that so that I can be in the energy frequency with Julius.
Okay. Oh, you guys are so fun to talk to. Thank you so much. Would you like to share with our audience more about what you do beyond the channeling, in case they'd like to work with you beyond this?
Right. Well, we have our own network now. It's called Expansion Network. We're on Roku Television, Fire TV, and Amazon. We are also on Binge Network under Expand with Julius, and we are on, is it Sci-Fi? What is it?
We're just uploading right now to Sci-Fi TV.
Sci-Fi TV. So everybody can actually catch us on TV programming now. You can see programs with me channeling Julius in front of audiences. We also offer courses and classes with Julius every month.
If they go to expandwithjulius.com, it's all there.
Yeah.
And so much more, because we do a
Workshops.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, workshops and retreats right here at our retreat facility, right here on our property in Southern Utah. And then, of course, we are out and about with some of our speaking engagements at expos, and we're featured speakers and things like that. But yeah, climb on the website, catch us on our Facebook page, YouTube, all that stuff. Everything's under Expand with Julius.
Awesome. And you also have some really cool videos on your Facebook page, Expand with Julius. There was one I just watched today, and I shared it out. It was about it was such an awesome conversation about how many versions of us are there. I loved the back and forth with you two.
Yeah. That's what you'll see. You'll commonly see Julius having all of this engagement with Brad. Because this is how all of this, comes out.
I'm the one that's usually in your position.
Yeah, asking
okay.
questions.
That's how I came up with this idea. Was I thought it would be fascinating for people to actually see what I was going through and how it actually works. And I thought, people would be extremely drawn to it. Yeah. And here we are 12 some odd years later, and man, we're just getting going.
That's right. We are just starting.
Oh, it's so exciting. Well, and you also have a freebie that we can offer to today's audience. Would you like to speak about that? Or I can just send them the link?
Send them the link. It's a full program.
It's a full program, and it talks about your empowerment and how you are the one who is in control of your life, and you have just forgotten that you're the powerful being that you are searching for.
Yeah.
And that is a full course. It's not edited. There's nothing taken out of it. That is a gift from us to you, and you can send them the gift or however you want to handle that.
That is such a generous gift. So thank you for that. And for those watching, I will go ahead and share that link down below. And I just, again, thank you so much for being here today. Are there any parting words you would like to leave our audience with today?
Move in your life.
Yeah, get moving.
Move. Find a way to breathe and move and engage. It never ends. It never ends. You're never going to be done. Keep thinking, keep feeling, keep moving, and, find your way. You're not alone. You're not alone. Keep watching programming like this. Keep watching programming like ours. Watch everything that inspires you. Just seat yourself in love energy.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And thank you to all those that were here with us today. Remember that every day truly is a new day. And by being deliberate and choosing new thoughts, immersing yourself in more of that love energy, wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. You can watch this interview again on Facebook, or you'll eventually be able to also see it on YouTube or listen to it on iTunes. And I invite you to connect with me afterwards. Let us know what you're taking away, and just know that you are loved always, always, always. Thank you so much again, Brad, Kasey, Julius, everyone that was here today. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye.
And that's today's show. So, what are you taking away? Let me know down in the comments wherever you listened or watched today's episode, and connect with me on Facebook on the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page, or visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Remember, every day is always a new day. Wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. There is always hope, and you will always be amazing. I'll see you next time.